To everybody assembled, thank you for all your hard work and your stewardship through this process. It was an honor to get the signatures of these remarkable young leaders. And by the way, I hope you did that like a rainbow. That's nice. You guys all had different colors. And I appreciate that opportunity to celebrate what this is all about. And it's about the investments for these young children and their quality of imagination and this fundamental belief that everybody has the capacity to flow with the forces of life. Everybody has the capacity to thrive. And that's the spirit that brings us here in particular, the spirit that defines the $2.4 billion investment in the needs of those with special needs. These special people. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that passively. I don't say that as an elected official who woke up to that. It's been a cause that was brought to me by my mom, who was very involved when I was a very young person in the work of providing support for adoptions for kids with special needs. She was working at the time for Aid to Adoption of Special Kids, the DeBolt family. She did a little bit of development work for them. Cannot tell you how many memories I have as a young child doing fundraisers for that cause, and it created an imprint for me. It's one of the reasons I volunteered as a child in middle school and high school, college for Special Olympics. I was proud to be co-chair of the World Games here in Los Angeles, the Special Olympics with the Shriver family. It's why I'm so deeply involved and so proud of my administration for their involvement at the departmental level, not just the agency level, with Best Buddies. And making sure that we have these incredibly talented young people with intellectual disabilities working in key departments and agencies throughout the state of California. So this issue is personal in so many ways. And, it's an adjacent point, but, when you grow up as well with some reading and learning disabilities, you also are adjacent to this population in terms of your own experience and your own understanding and appreciation for the comment that Linda just made around standardization, that we've got to do more to individualize learning. All of us learn differently, and so we have to do things differently. And so $2.4 billion, as the Assemblywoman said, 43% increase year over year. You don't hear numbers like that. You've never heard a number like that in California. We're doing fine with some earlier investments, but there was this gnawing understanding that we were, failing more efficiently, that we needed to do something bold. And so that was the idea when we landed this last budget. We want to land the plane with a pattern interrupt and do something that truly sort of wakes up the system, scratches the proverbial record, and creates a different expectation in terms of the investments. And by the way, that shifted from January, we're at a $509 million increase where I felt good, but not great. And then in the May revise, we added another $1.8 billion. And it said, we asked them, look, what do we need to do something meaningful here? And we were able to do that because of the legislative support and their leadership. And I'm very humbled and grateful by that. I don't want to go too into detail, but I would be remiss because it was pointed out by Assemblymember Alvarez and by Linda that this budget is not just about special education. The community schools is another area. I remember out there as a lieutenant governor, clipping articles. I feel like we were clipping them back then. It was black and white movie days. And I was like, what's this community school thing? That's how we started getting together, Linda and I. She was, Linda. Everyone knows Linda. She's the person everyone dialed up. What are the best practices in the United States? Down there at Stanford, putting out these incredible reports. She's writing about community schools, and, I'm reading about some small pilots. And so I made some commitments on the campaign trail that we'd run some pilots. Never in my wildest imagination that I believe that we can get to a $4.1 billion multi-year commitment on community schools, and to see them flourish and to see them organically get more and more support, meaning it was no longer we had to push and pull and make the case. It all of a sudden was making its own case. And by the way, academically, and they've done some rigorous independent studies to prove the point. And so that was a point we didn't need to emphasize as it relates to the codification of that to get this ongoing $1 billion a year and lock this in to the Prop 98 formula. So this is, again, forgive the personal journey. I don't have many more swings at the bat, so I'm going to take advantage of your time because I'm very proud of this. And it's just stubborn, persistent work. And by the way, Linda said, I wasn't going to do this unless you'll commit to me a deeper understanding of this. Education reform is not some one big idea and you walk away. It's not a single act. It's about a habit. It's a process, unfolds over a course of years and years and years. It's multiple strategies, all stacking together. And if you're committed to that, then I'll commit the time to you and this effort. And I think we did a pretty damn good job, Linda. 8 years working through all these things, all these budgets. I appreciate you. And we're starting to see those outcomes. Pre-K, come on. Pre-K, brand new grade. And the quality we put in that. You know, we invested not just in expanding slots, but the quality slots by making sure the teacher ratios were nation leading as well. And it's not just, you know, pre-K to 12. It's really pre-K to 14 from my perspective. When we did that free community college years and years and years ago. And, you know, I know it's free like a puppy. We're not naive. So we're looking at textbooks. We're looking at the full cost of attendance and open source and all these things that came from that. The first school districts in the nation to provide 2 free quality school meals without any stigma attached to them. It was California that led that effort in the nation. And you look back, after school for all, summer school for all, those were platforms that were promoted in campaigns that were never delivered at scale. Summer school. The investments we made together, they're being we're here experiencing them, taking shape all across the state of California. And so across the spectrum, including literacy, which you cannot overlook. I know Marshall's here. He's like, why didn't you bring up literacy if I didn't? Where are you? There you are. We're very proud of the work we all did together on that. And just moving away from the old binaries. We got here and it was only one conversation, education. Charter schools or public schools. And it's like, it was years and years of just this. And now we're in a different space. So I'm glad to be here with you in this space and very, very proud of the progress and proud of the work that's been done by the folks behind me. One final thing, because there's a bit of an elephant in the room, also proud of the governance reforms. Yeah. Those were long overdue, 100 years. And so, that was stubborn and it's meaningful because it will carry this work forward in a way that justifies these investments. Governing matters. Program passing is not problem solving. It's the hard work after a bill is signed. That's when the job starts. And that's why that governance reform was so powerful and so important. So with that, again, just wanted to express appreciation to everyone assembled. To the superintendent, thank you for the privilege of you opening up your doors, and to all these magnificent, gritty, inspired, determined, young and talented people. Thank you for making this a little more special than a lot of these occasions are. With that, we'll answer any questions. Thank you.
One on-topic, one off-topic question. You just mentioned the elephant in the room. Superintendent Thurman is not here. He's criticized the overhaul of the Department of Education. He even called it a gimmick. What is your response to that? And then also, if I could ask, we're nearing the 5-year mark of the Caldor fire. Grizzly Flats still looks like a hellscape. There are people living in trailers, seniors, children. They did not get the promised individual assistance from FEMA. What is your message to people who say they feel forgotten?
Well, there are a lot of folks in Grizzly Flats, and a lot of folks down in Los Angeles that feel forgotten because the federal government didn't fulfill their commitments, to your point. FEMA did not step up and step in. FEMA has been significantly vandalized by this current administration, and I'll remind you that not $1 of that supplemental request has come in for the people of the state of California and those fires in Southern California. And you're talking about Grizzly Flats. It was what a beautiful community. I was up there in the middle of those fires, right near sort of the tail end of them. Reminds me, some of those conditions remind me a lot of Paradise when we're up there as well. And, towns being wiped off the map, lifestyles, places, traditions being impacted, not just individuals and communities, whole communities. And so we have a lot more work to do. And we continue to strive to do more and better, including 10xing the vegetation management and forest management to prevent these fires, the historic investments in terms of technology to make sure we're even more aggressive as it relates to mitigating the impacts of these fires. But the issue of FEMA and the issue of partnerships with the federal government is real. And you've got an administration who's hell-bent on gutting that agency and not being here for the American people. And it's not just here in California, it's all across the United States of America. So I express not just empathy, but anger and aligned interests in doing more so that we can help more people in that respect. As it relates to the governance reform, change has its enemies. And I'm for change. I'm not arguing for the status quo. And I'm very proud of the work that was done not only by the legislature, but by all these organizations and groups that have been advocating for reform, 950 plus organizations for decades and decades that have advocated for change. So I'm in the change camp. I'm not defending the status quo. With respect to the individual you mentioned, he and I have a fundamental disagreement, and I couldn't be more proud that the legislature and the people of the state demanded a new approach, and I was proud to attach my signature to that new approach.
Governor, I have a separate budget question on, I don't know if the Fast Food Council was at all discussed during the negotiations. It's been without a chair for a year. Is it going defunct?
Interesting. I've not gotten a Fast Food Council question in some time. I will say this. On the issue of appointments, I've got probably 200 or 300 on my desk, and it's one of the things that will be one of my, as you guys are on your break, I will be sort of breaking new ground on finally closing out a lot of these gaps, including a Supreme Court justice that I have to appoint. And we have a lot of boards and commissions, including, I think there's one vacancy left on there that we'll be attending to very shortly. So no, I don't think any... that thing was established in statute. It was advanced by the legislature, so not going defunct by definition. But the commitment for me to fulfill, to support all these commissions and get these slots is ongoing. It's iterative, and I'm hoping to get through all of those in the next few weeks. And over the next few months, we'll roll out all those remaining appointments that I'll be making.
I'm asking because, on the labor side, folks have been asking for hearings on abuses. They've been asking for another pay raise. And on the other side, there are some industry folks who want clarity in the law. This group, this whole council hasn't met in 2 years. So that's why do you appoint someone?
No, it sounds like we'll need to make that appointment. And so that appointment will be made. And the question is it a matter of weeks or a month? But as I said, you can't do everything. You can't do anything. And we have 4,000, I think, appointments that I make. So there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, quite literally, I can assure you if you saw my desk, that have been vetted, and they're just waiting for my final decision. And I'm hopeful that's in there as well.
What details can you provide on the FBI federal investigations into you, your wife, your staff?
Not much more than has already been provided. I mean, this is purely political. You've seen some of the reporting. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys have reported it as well. People have stated pretty clearly that they were directed to find something.
Have more people been contacted in your circle?
To find something. Just directed. Find something. It says everything you need to know about the United States of America under Donald Trump. And so we continue to, maintain vigilance as it relates to the just weaponization by the Department of Justice and other power ministries under the Trump administration. And And a lot has been reported, and I don't have much more to add, except it's pretty disgraceful.
Can you explain more why you decided to reveal those details first, Governor? In the video, you also would acknowledge that you were considering the 2028 presidential run. So again, can you emphasize more?
Well, that was table stakes, and it's pretty obvious that I'm not timid as it relates to calling out the abuses of the most corrupt administration in American history. What more evidence did you need than the tax returns that he just put out, the $2.2 billion in income that Donald Trump has received, the fact that investors in his meme coin lost $3.8 billion, was it? While he made out with over $600 million, the great grift. You saw that on display, vulgar display, with a $400 million Qatari plane that he had to get off because apparently it's not even mechanically sound as it relates to its defense positioning, where we spent hundreds of millions of dollars not on developmental disabilities. In fact, they cut that budget. Trump administration cut the budget for kids with developmental disabilities, but had no problem increasing the budget for his vanity for a private plane that he'll be taking with him when he leaves the administration, the most corrupt administration in history that has gone after his opponents consistently. And so I was clear in that statement why I did what I did, and that was the abuse was overwhelming. Poor and innocent people getting knocks on the door first thing in the morning, having to hire private attorneys, lives and reputation at risk for no other reason they want to take me out, going after my wife. Doesn't have the gut. He's tried. He reported that. Couldn't figure out how to get me. Now he's trying to find anyone around us. That's America. That's abusive. It's wrong. So I wanted to socialize it because I thought it was the right thing to do. People need to know what's going on. And there's a certain point where it's just enough's enough. And we absorbed a lot of it. And I said, this is ridiculous now. Just going in 52 different directions. Again, because they were told, find something, anything.
Governor, as you get ready to campaign on behalf of Democrats here in Nevada and in other states, I just wanted to quickly ask about the inter-party tension around DSA. Specifically, there's alignment around this idea that addressing affordability is a top priority. A DSA candidate might look at something like universal TK or national billionaire tax and identify that as a potential progressive solution to that affordability issue. But not all Democrats are necessarily embracing that Big Ten expansion to nominee philosophy that you've espoused. Do those Democrats risk missing the moment and opportunities to energize the base, or do you think it's reasonable given the likelihood they'll face attacks from the socialists?
Look, as I've said, I'm for addition in the spirit of academia, not for subtraction. I think we're all better off, and we're all better off when parties are better off when they have some grace and humility, and there's fundamental shared values that unite us together. But we're many parts, and maybe it's just deep familiarity. I ran against the vice presidential nominee for Ralph Nader, member of the Green Party, for mayor. Progressives in San Francisco were the early versions of the DSA. I've seen this all my life. I think it's incredibly healthy. I don't understand this sort of notion it's zero sum. And it's always been present in our politics. I've been sort of mystified by the punditry. There's a lot of, I get for certain reasons, there's an over-indexing because they want to paint a picture of the party. So I get the mishigash in that respect. But, Howard Dean before the Scream, was a different kind of progressive politics. The Green Party was an ascendancy during, the early, late part of 99, 2000, 2001, 2, 3. Progressives, in all stripes, the sort of early DSA. And what are they promoting? TK, you're right, for all. Free community college, low carbon green growth, cap and trade, equity, higher minimum wage, $25 for healthcare workers. In Ashley's point, $20 for fast food workers. I think 1690. I haven't checked the latest indexing. I think it's going into effect shortly on our Maine. Those are what they're advocating for. We're advocating for all of that and balanced budgets, not to be profligate, to be progressive. And we made that point with the budgets, 2-year budget, where we also made historic investments in what else they're advocating for, which is child care. No other state. I don't know another state in the United States. We just need to name it something. I think we're failing on that. 149,000. This is important. More important, perhaps, even than the next question. And now I'm going to get to your question. But hold on one second. 149,000 new subsidized child care slots. We just did another 22,700 in the budget. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I'm proud of that. Members of our party, members of the DSA are also promoting that. So the alignment is more remarkably, the Venn diagram from my perspective is, sort of 80-20 as opposed to 20-80. And so I just don't see this in those old terms. Hold on one sec. You had a follow-up.
Yeah, just could we take that to mean that you'd be open to or anticipating potentially campaigning on behalf of openly, strongly DSA candidates?
Yeah, look, we got to take back the House of Representatives or we'll lose this republic. I talked about this Trump administration as the great grift because this is a corruption story. We will lose the republic. I made a point on July 4th. If you haven't seen my speech, you should take a look at the speech. You'll know exactly my mindset. We will lose this country unless we're vigilant about what's going on in terms of election security. This is serious. It's a 5-alarm fire. This guy is not screwing around. He's just winding up. More unhinged by the hour. I mean, look at the performance overseas, NATO. Now Spain's one of our biggest enemies. I mean, this is serious stuff. So yes, I will advocate to take back the House of Representatives. I'll advocate to make sure that there's a system of checks and balances so we can truly celebrate the 250th anniversary of the best of Roman Republic and Greek democracy and our founding fathers, because that's what a republic is all about, for which it stands. 3 independent, co-equal branches of government. Not the power ministries that I described, and the DOJ and the FBI and the IRS, and those that countenance it, and those that cover for it. A supine Congress is not what the founding fathers promoted. It's not what they advocated for. It's the rule of law, not the rule of dawn. And to the extent it's dawning on people in the spirit of your question that the base of the party is demanding the fight, yes, I hope more established Democrats wake up to that, because I've been screaming from the rafters for years on that. That's what Prop 50 represented. Not just press release, it wasn't an op-ed, it was action. It was making real our values. I think that's the fight we need in this country. Forgive me.
Governor, districts like Sacramento City Unified say that special education costs are helping push them for digital crisis, while families say that students still are not getting adequate services.
Yeah.
So how would you ensure that this investment actually reaches students?
Well, the student comes with $1,340 per pupil investment. So it's numeric, specific to the student. The investments now are about to take place and shape to answer the concern. These are dollars moving forward. I can't make up for the past. We've been muddling along, doing better than we were in the past. But as your, I thought, very thoughtful question reinforces, not good enough. And that's what is represented here today. But Linda, perhaps you can talk more, put a little more color to this, because as you move forward, we move forward with the implementation of these funds. More prescriptively, perhaps we're able to answer that question.
Well, the funds will flow to the districts on behalf of the students. There's several pieces, and I think actually you identified many of them that are part of it. So maybe you want to join me and talk about how all the pieces fit together. I'll just say that in addition to one of the things special education students need most are really well-prepared teachers who know how to meet their needs. So in addition to the money that's going to go directly for services, we also have funding in the budget to recruit and prepare well special educators themselves, which is going to be a big part of making sure those dollars matter. And then you could speak to the
Yeah,
other
there's
pieces
no
that you-
single one solution that's going to help our families that have children with disabilities to make sure their children are getting the services and supports they need. But it's been a suite of solutions that we've put forward in this budget. So it's the support inclusive practices that will make sure that our educators are getting the training that they need for team taught or co-taught classrooms. It's making sure that the extraordinary cost pool and the low incidence fund are more robustly funded than ever before. So for those school districts that have those students with higher cost level, there's now a pool of money that they can tap into. Those funds have been oversubscribed for years. And we're now finally approaching levels where maybe we'll right-size that fund and actually meet the needs of the families that are seeking it. And then for our students with extraordinary disabilities, the pathways to diploma and making sure that law was passed a few years ago, but it was under-supported. And districts needed technical assistance. Well, now we're providing the funding to make sure they get the technical assistance that they need. So it's not just going to be one thing or another. We have to keep a close eye. But increasing the per-pupil funding is going to take us a large part of the way there. And then it's up to our LEAs to make sure that the resources we're allocating to them are going exactly to the students that need them. And so for our community members out there, this is your opportunity to communicate with your Board of Education. I was a former school board trustee. I had robust relationships with my community members and did listening sessions with them. And that's how I was able to come to Sacramento and ask for these very specific items for special education, because I was listening to my community. So I think community members need to go out there and speak to their boards of education and their superintendents to make sure that the resources are allocated appropriately.
And
I was just going to say, Speaker Rivas chose wisely by putting her as chair of the Education Committee. We're good.
On the issue of school funding, there's a measure on the ballot to extend the tax on higher earners, funding for schools.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if you have thought about or are concerned at all that your opposition to the other billionaires tax on the ballot might confuse voters with so many different tax measures on this year's ballot.
Yeah, I certainly hope that's not the case. Well, it's interesting you bring this up along with all these commissions that I'll be appointing and boards very shortly. Just so I can get it out of the way so you don't have to be persistent saying, well, what's your position on Prop X, Y, and Z? We'll be putting out where we are on all those measures. But yeah, that's part of the campaign, and I think it's a legitimate question, and it's one that is reflected a little bit. A few months ago, someone I didn't see the details, any of the tabs on it, but they made a point that some of the polling suggests that other tax initiative that you're referencing can actually impact and reduce the likelihood of the extension of the existing tax rate that has been promoted. So that has to all be assessed through a campaign process, and we'll have some time in the next few weeks and months to figure that out.
Are you going to be campaigning against
Yeah, my position on that state tax is well defined, and for years I've been saying in relationship to this, because it's not novel, the idea of a state tax, that I support this from the national perspective, and was crystal clear about that in a video that I put out, and finally got a little coverage. Not my prior efforts to make the same point, but I'm glad that it did.
Last question. The University of California is undertaking a new review of its policy on the standardized tests.
Oh, yeah.
Do you believe that this current policy needs to change, and if so?
Yeah, it's interesting. The reason I'm quick to respond is I was talking to JB, talking to the team over there about where they stand on this, and I'm very intrigued. I'm looking forward. Here's my position, that I don't fully have a formed one yet. But I'm very intrigued by this debate, have been for the last year. Interesting, talk about clipping articles. I sent my team, trust me, they're not happy. For over a year, I said, so what do you think? How's this really, are we producing the kind of outcomes that we intended? And then the faculty came out, and then I went, come on, guys, let's take a look at this. So we had formal conversation with some members of the regions at the regental level. I'm glad they're taking a look at it.
But the faculty seem concerned that if there's a further delay in assessing this, or if this takes years of working groups, that you're talking about a decision that affects students only much later.
Yeah, I don't think they're. I think they're. Yeah, they're moving. They were. It's interesting when the conversations that I had at the regental level, they were already in the process of reviewing this. So it's very much on their agenda. And again, merit and demerit aside, I think it's a healthy conversation That's my opinion. And it's one, again, that for over a year I have encouraged. And so I'm pleased that they are taking a look at it for no other reason than what are the facts. And let's assess the data, not feelings. And so I think it's about time we do that. And so I think it's a very positive thing.
Governor, question about Graham Flatner and that Senate race in Maine. Do you think that the party failed to thoroughly vet him? And what do you think?
I'm looking forward to the nominating process, supporting a Democrat in that race. I'm already, forgive me, turn the page and move on. I can't get into the merits of what they do in Maine in terms of that vetting process, et cetera. I just don't know enough to have an informed opinion. Clearly, there wasn't enough vetting done, so that's by definition table stakes in this conversation. But for me, the stake in the ground is what do we do to win and move forward? And every second we're talking about the past is a second wasted in terms of the essential nature of that race in the context of taking back not just the House of Representatives, Speaker Jeffries, but also taking back control and wresting control away from a Senate that has been hell-bent on rolling back, as has the House of Representatives, a better part of the last half century in this country.
Governor, you're headed to Nevada later today. I believe you've been very active in...
Well, how do you all know my schedule? I actually am, but I'm now curious. Did you put something out? Okay.
You've been very active.
I got my son's basketball tournament, which is the principal reason, which is really exciting, and he's crushing it, by the way, 10-year-old. He's the guy that was there with a little pacifier of mine. Now he's a little basketball star, which is awesome.
Congratulations.
No, thank you. Sorry. Every father says that. He maybe, well, I don't want to say anything. Dutch, you're amazing. That's it.
You've been very active in campaigning for, congressional Democrats and congressional races across the country, including here in California, and a lot of these national races. I believe you're going to be advocating for a gubernatorial candidate in Nevada.
Yeah.
Are you planning to be comparably active in some of these statewide ballot measure campaigns in the lead up to the election? Are you going to be fundraising for those? Or are you more focused on these congressional races?
Keep an open mind about getting involved in any cause we hold dear. But I'm meeting with folks about assembly races, state senate races that are so often overlooked all across this country, and how we can nationalize a lot of those races. I had some wonderful meetings earlier this week. Obviously, Congress, as I told you, is just it's the whole ball game. It's the whole show. Deeply involved with the Democratic Governors Association as its policy director, and deeply involved in races, have been in the past, will be in the future, to the extent my support can tip some support and for the party. And so I will be back out, periodically get back out on the road, and this is the first of what I'll preview will be a few other road trips.
And are you planning to campaign at all in some of the contested Central Valley congressional races? Are you planning to go in person?
I physically where I show up, but certainly support, and very intentionally. You got to finish the job on Prop 50. That was the easy part. Now we got to win the races, and that's the harder part. And so I absolutely am working aggressively to support that effort in a coalition, and to the extent that I'm, out front is to me secondary to the importance and imperative of getting those successfully over the finish line. Any other questions anyone who hasn't asked? I'm glad people are getting back to work. It's a healthy thing for their mental health.
Can you describe the types of records that the Department of Justice is asking from your friends and family? And then secondly, have they responded to your public records request asking for those?
I don't know that they've responded, not yet. I don't know enough details about what detailed requests have come in. I just haven't been privy to any of those requests directly that have gone to other people, so I haven't seen them directly. So I don't know much more than you do about that. And,
Back to class, so let's take a quick
all right. Anyone didn't ask? That's good. Yeah, good. Yeah, well, everybody has. Everybody has. I already have. You've had 20 years of my taxes. Yes.
Since 20.
I know you love taxes. Donald Trump, when's he releasing his?
What are you saying is so different from Trump?
Well, I am, because that's why I've released all my taxes for decades, and you will have all those new tax returns, because I have no reason why you haven't gotten them already. So I have no problem.